Welcome back. I'm Emily Johnson, Certified Financial Planner and Managing Director at Polaris Capital Advisors, and I am joined by Todd Harlow of Work Plan Retire, Retirement Plan Specialist, and we've been discussing the importance of income in retirement, and that is what we're here to hopefully assist with. We discussed first the fact that we have to have the humility as advisors to recognize that we do not have tomorrow's newspaper, that we don't have a crystal ball, but that we have to plan for any potential outcome. The second thing that we discussed is the importance of having a spending plan. Specifically, we talked about an endowment spending plan versus a lifestyle spending plan, but the importance of at least having a spending plan, and that's what we're here to help you with. And third, we wanted to talk about the importance of having an actual process and how to set up that plan. So we're going to kick off this show with that process and the importance of that. Would you like to lead in?
Absolutely, and as you know, it's implied, but it can't be stated enough. This entire thing isn't to go down an argumentative path of is product better than process. We believe this leads...
Of course, we're both on the same side, so
that's
we
right.
wouldn't even argue.
But this is about longevity, whether it's people hopefully living longer because of great health care or whatever. But I think that the mortal fear of any investor, when you really get down to it, is, am I going to outlive it?
Right,
what problems or what are the roadblocks of maybe outliving your money?
Right.
Literally living too long, which is a good problem to have in theory, or
Yeah.
for just living and enjoying things. But inflation, market conditions, everything. And this Income as a Process series is all about that, not outliving your money.
Right.
And preparing and really focusing on controllable metrics versus, by definition, you said it, we don't have tomorrow's newspaper. We're humble enough, you and I, to admit it. But most people, I think the insecurity
Oh, yeah.
of coming to us and asking, am I in right investments? Or even advisors indulge this, frankly, in my, too much, is if they do have it and they focus on what do I do next. Intellectually, we know we can't do it, but yet we try every day. And this Income as a Process is about focusing on what we can control. Spending, which takes discipline and leadership. What we're about to talk about, process. And then, like we said, humility. So
Right.
forth. So
I think that investors have and clients have a fear of the unknown, just like you have a fear of that you're unknown when it comes to your health. I think health and money are two things that really create a lot of fear in all of us. And having the knowledge to know that there is a process, just like going to the doctor once a year to get your blood work done,
and you can control that.
You can control all of these things,
if we
and
can
it
inspire
mitigates
it.
risks. Exactly. So that's our goal, is to inspire that and to let you know that there is a process. So let's, I guess, dig in.
So this is our
Stock photo.
stolen stock photo.
Isn't it pretty?
But as you look, it may not be as
They're
easy.
apples, not cherries.
This is an apple orchard, and the segment here in this series is Process Matters, and in keeping with being controllable, this controllable process, it goes a long way to, I like to call it the insulation, the bubble wrap of this process. And this orchard is such a great analogy, because we all get an apple orchard, right? It bears fruit, it bears food, and it is a living being that does this. And we here we had a storm just here in the southeast, and
Another one.
the weather affects the yield on these fruit trees,
Absolutely.
right? Or livestock, all kinds of things, right? In some years we have a bumper crop, in other years it's lean.
Right.
But and we're going to get into that.
And the market is the same way.
Exactly. But the one thing that the reason why this is such a great analogy, what you don't want to have to do, and why process matters, is not having to cut down our apple trees to get our yield.
I like it.
Right? And so we always want to maintain our trees to create future yield, or hopefully grow, and we're going to get into that.
Meaning we want to keep our portfolio so we can continue to yield and grow, and we can spend accordingly.
That's right.
Right.
So we promised we wouldn't use jargon as much as we can, or as much as try to keep from using it as much as we can. But what you're looking at here is the bubble wrap, is the process. Harold Ivinsky called this the buckets of money. Again, this is not a Emily and Todd are smarter than everyone with this process. This is a financial planning accepted norm, if you will.
And we've talked about buckets on the show in the past, so this is just another way to present it. I think it's a very simple, easily to understand method of how to structure your portfolio so that it'll last.
And it's a little bit tough to see. We're going to make it as simple and digestible as possible. But you just know that much like a lot of the things in our industry, the only real perceived negative of this is it's not as just simple as a product on your statement. It's a little bit, it has buckets of money, but the benefits are, again, it's flexible and it's transparent, and it provides quite literally, like I say, the airbags, the bubble wrap around it, and I want to walk you through it. So the first column right here is that it says checking account. Again, the basis of this entire series is to create a lifetime paycheck for you that you don't outlive. Step one. The cash flow reserve is again the buckets, this cascading aquifer, if you were, as Jack Gardner used to talk about. But the time frame here is 2 years, and that's where this becomes art and not necessarily science.
Right.
Is some people can't put away 2 years of this reserve cash flow or of this bumper, padding, whatever you want to call it. But the key point here, back to our apple orchard, this is our safeguard against not having to sell into weakness or having to cut down our apple trees, which is a killer. So this is something to be, when you meet with the professional, whether it's Emily, myself, whoever, this is the kind of massaging that you need to get around. Maybe you can only put away 1 year's of cash flow, but just know that the greater the bumper, the greater the cushion, this is your safeguard against not having to cut down your yield.
So
your
very simply, and we've talked about the buckets before, this is your checking account, this is where your Social Security rolls into. If you're lucky enough to have a pension, this is where your pension rolls into. This is where your paycheck rolls into. And the paycheck that we try to create for you as financial advisors comes from your investments. Because we don't have visibility on what's going to happen tomorrow or next year, we have to have some sort of, as Todd says, bubble wrap to make sure that we can go through that down 37% year without having to cut our apple trees or sell into a bad market, is another way to say it. That's what this cash flow reserve bucket is. It's not sexy. It's not saying, hey, I can get you 5% on cash. It's saying, I need you to be able to take about 2 years worth of your expenses and put them in this bucket so that if we go through a down 37% year, as we looked at in a previous episode, then you can take funds from this cash flow reserve and recreate that paycheck. So you never come to me on the 29th of a month and say, oh my gosh, how am I going to have a paycheck in my account on the 1st? We know that in that bad market, it's going to come from here and it's going to see us through the storm. And as we've seen through most of the historical slides that we've looked at, typically those bad markets are maybe 1 year, maybe 2, but enough so that we can actually see through. So those are the first parts of the bucket. Here's the rest of it. And so this is your entire portfolio that we're looking at. And these are just the first 2 simple aspects of it. This is actually where the investments, the growth, and the income is happening here. That's
a great point. And the only thing missing here, I wish it just said that big banner that says process matters, because this is the process. It's transparent. As you get this all the time, where does my money come from? You get to see it. And it needs the massaging, if you will, of the professional to help make it work. But it really has some benefits, like I mentioned, in terms of creating the longevity and providing that bumper so that you don't have to cut down the apple trees. And here's another part I mentioned about flexibility. This is the long-term money. It says fixed income and equity. That's classic jargon of our business. Here's the cool part. Whether you're working with Emily, your own, this allows you to work in your own secret sauce. If you have a favorite fund, your own stocks, that secret sauce, think of that as your apple orchard, something that provides you income, whether that be a bond. We're going to get into a little bit of the product, dare I say, in the last segment. But whatever it is that you have, it could be the company you worked for your whole life, for crying out loud, that provides that dividend income or the yield, again, the apples.
And this is the part, this is the sexier part. This is the part that we would actually call even more white noise, but this is what you see more ads for. This is what this is what you're seeing in the newspaper. But this is really a lot more the white noise. This is the pie. As long as you have the pie structured correctly, it doesn't really matter whether you have Vanguard large cap or whether you have iShares large cap or whether you have, and I hate to say that, but it's true. And in a way, it provides a lot of flexibility for me as an advisor, because if I have a client that comes to me that says, I really want to work with XYZ, I say, we can find a way to fit that in. This is not rocket science, but this is sort of where I think a lot of people try to pull the wool over your eyes, and we don't need to.
Everyone wants to focus here because, as you mentioned, it's sexy, but this is the secret sauce. We'll get into that. Long-term money. This is the bumper of bubble wrap, never having to sell, and all cascading downward like an aquifer into your paycheck. Lastly, as we're closing here, little hard to see, I'm sure, but this is the perils of having to cut down your apple trees.
Selling into a bad market.
Selling into a bad market. This simply demonstrates that if you're looking for $5,000, or in this particular case, $50,000 of annual income into a share price, largely stability, you only have to sell $23,569 to get your yield, your bumper crop, if you will. Into a bad market, which my mentor loves to call dollar cost ravaging, which is having to sell into weakness, you have to cut down, to make my analogy, 31,032 trees to get the same yield. Not good. We can, and that's the process matters creates a buffer of not having to sell into weakness.
And this is something we deal with every day.
Yep.
All right, well, please stick with us. We're going to be back in just a moment with the final step in the process for creating income in retirement. We'll be right back.